Lexus ES is an interesting model in the Lexus range. It was originally launched to be almost the entry model into Lexus, but interesting in the sense that it's actually bigger than the IS model, but it's front-wheel drive only, which I don't believe makes any difference to 90% of the buyers of a car of this sort. Your choice as always. But the ES has grown up a bit, got a lot more features, and is a lot more Lexus, just starting with the grille. That one that looks like it's going to come and eat you up in your rear view mirror if it's behind you in the fast lane. Note the blue tinges around here, because very recently we did test the ES in standard format, can I call it. This is the hybrid, and it's in top spec SE trim. So just keep those little facts in mind. Very similar to the other ESs, but of course you've got these intelligent LED headlights, for example, that have auto high beams on, off, and do their thing without bugging oncoming motorists, just as one of the safety features. Nice big 18-inch mag wheels over there that certainly look the part. Very, very smart. Overall, it's a smart looking, bigger sedan. Yes, that model segment that's dead as far as everyone else is concerned. Although there are a few players still in the luxury sedan game, and that's where this one definitely plays. You have a look, they want to just remind you of the fact it's the hybrid. So you've got that little badge at the bottom of each door. If you look at the roofline, it's a long car. And look at this steep rake into the C-pillars, which are very long, flowing into the boot. So it could compromise on rear headroom just a little bit. Let's take a look in the back seat. Well, if you look at the headroom, it's not bad, even with my hat on. Slightly compromised. But what I immediately notice in the back here is the angle of the backrest on this back seat is quite far, quite angled, and I'm sitting further back than in a lot of cars where you'd be sitting a lot more upright like that. But take account of the fact that the driver's seat has a comfort mode. In other words, it moves away further back from the steering wheel when you switch off the car to give you easier entry and egress. And there's still tons of legroom over there, and once we're on the move, there'll be even more. So there is lots of space in the back seat, and rear seat passengers are catered for with aircon vents, 12-volt socket, and 2 USBs down over here at the back. So they certainly are looking after, whether it's executive passengers or your kids. Doesn't matter, they're being looked after very, very nicely in the back over here. Also, their safety is being looked after when you remember there are 10 airbags in this car. So believe me, everyone's looked after. Come round to the tail over here. You'll see the very sharp tail light starting all the way in that C-pillar and all the way around and tapering down very nicely into the boot over there. Speaking of the boot, press button, hey presto, and there you go. Very, very big, deep boot over here. But my one complaint, and I've got to point this out to you, is you lift up, you've got a space saver spare wheel underneath, thank you for that at least, but this has got to be the thinnest, flimsiest boot board I've come across in a long time in any car, let alone a car in this category. So there's my little picky point for this one that I'm going to have to harp on a little bit for you. Press the button, close the boot, and you'll see the badge says ES300H. Well, in typical modern fashion, it lies, because there's nothing 300 about this car. It's a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with hybrid. So what does that give you? Well, it gives you 160 kilowatts and 221 newton meters of torque, plus a bit of extra if you need it when you're driving and you want that extra bit from the electric assistance, which I think by now most people know how hybrids work and the electric system works. It's not a plug-in, it's regenerative, as all the Toyota Lexus hybrids are. So in other words, it recharges itself while you're driving. And that, of course, makes so much more sense, specifically in South Africa, and makes all the difference. Let's check it out on the road as well as looking inside, and you'll see what I mean. even though the hybrid, you can't run in EV mode when you're on open road, that's not the point about this car. This incredible, supreme quietness, cruising along at 100 kilometers an hour on a freeway, and it is just so incredibly quiet. It's smooth, it's comfortable. The sound insulation is top notch. And let me just tell you something. We're running at 5.9 liters per 100. And we've done a nice 60, 70k open road cruise. We're now heading back again. And that's what we're showing. There is just no way a car this size, a big four-door sedan, should be returning fuel economy of 5.9 liters per 100. It beggars belief, and it seems almost impossible, yet this car's doing it. All the quality you want, the fake wood trim around the dash, the top-notch sound system, the Mark Levinson sound, everything that spells luxury premium car you've got over here, and yet you're running with this unbelievable fuel economy, just as the biggest bonus you're going to get when you drive, if you're the kind of guy that really just likes to get good fuel economy, which I do. Don't know about when I let old Leadfoot Kelly get hold of this car, because I think things could change, but there's my challenge to Leadfoot. Let's see what he does. Looking at the dash, as we always start when we get inside the car, I want you to look at that figure over there. Yes, a big car like this with 160 kilowatts, 221 newton meters of torque, plus the little bit of extra electric assistance when you really need it, and 5.5 liters per 100. Now let's compare. I went back and looked at my recent test of the non-hybrid version. Gave me 7.6. So that is quite a difference. And that's something only you can decide what you want. But it is worth knowing. Of course, now I mentioned this is the SE version. So you get lots and lots of extras on this car, and a lot more than you get on the other version we had. You get the upgraded Mark Levinson sound system over here. You get camera views, and I'll show you some of that just now. But you do get various camera items, etc. Of course, you've got active cruise control as well over there that you can use. You've got lane keep assist. You've got all these sort of things. You've got emergency braking and warning if you for traffic ahead, for cars slowing down or stopping in front of you. I mentioned the seats, that the comfort seating. You've also got 3 memory settings on the driver's seat and passenger seat. Keep that in mind. And let me just show you over here, because it's easier. You've got heating and cooling, and even heating for the steering wheel. So heating and cooling on the front seats, and if you want, heating on the steering wheel. All these functions available to you. So I think you're getting the idea of where I'm going with this car. You've got the great big screen over here, which, of course, if I press menu over there, you know what I'm talking about. You've got all these different functions, etc., available to you. Interestingly, this does have built-in navigation, but just my complaint with the navigation system is, Lexus, this touchpad. Really and truly, this touchpad is just out of date, and the scrolling pad, and I must tell you, to program a navigation destination is a pain in the butt. It really is. But besides that, I'm being very, very picky over here, as I often am when I want to be. But I can tell you, for example, info, and you get all the information. Have a look at this, of what you've been doing, how you've been doing it, and you can see exactly what I've been doing with this car and the fuel economy I've been achieving, which I think is quite amazing. Let's have a look at the history one over there. Look at that. I mean, just not going above your 5-6 liters per 100 at any time, and even when you're driving it in any which way you want. Now, the feature, just coming back up here, is, of course, you have got, and this is from the sports that they brought out a few years ago, where you can shift between eco, normal, and sport modes I've left it in normal. I haven't even changed it on this test. I just don't find any need on a car of this sort, even flappy paddles. And taking into account that this is actually a CVT variable transmission, although I don't think any passenger would ever have realized it. They just would have thought it was an 8 or 10 speed, ultra smooth automatic. Well, shock, it's not. But it certainly feels great and comfortable, etc. You've got all your buttons, of course, for your dual zone climate control over there, all the operations. And then below there, look, you've got, again, repeated buttons for the heating and cooling of seats and steering wheels. You've got a lot of fake plastic wood trim around, but it does look classy. And I think that's all that matters. You don't care what it looks like if it looks classy. And if you just look around the entire dash, the whole ambience across the front of the car, the softish to the feel, leather touch, stitching, etc., etc., you know you're in a classy quality car. And I think that's important at this level of the market. Coming back to the center over here, let's just bring the camera back to the center. And of course, you have your gear shift I mentioned just now, being the CVT. But below, you've got a hold button if you want. I don't see the need for it, but a hill hold. And here, where you can lock it in EV mode, obviously, as long as you've got the regenerative power available and up to certain speeds, you can lock it in EV mode. And that's quite a nice feature as well, if you're stuck in traffic, for example. Then, an interesting feature over here, you've got this big armrest between the front seats. It really is nice. But look here, if my passenger wants to open it, they do that. And there you go. And you've even got an inductive charger over here if you want. Charging pad, useful and hidden away, but once you find it, it's a good place to have it. But now, that was for my passenger, right? But now if I want to open it, I pop it on that side, and guess what? It opens that way. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But I can't recall another car that I've ever tested that had an armrest that opened both ways. You can see behind tons and tons of space with all the stitching on the seats, on the leather, etc., etc. And then, interestingly, and this is for a luxury mode, on the backrest of the passenger seat, you've got two buttons there to move the seat or the backrest further out of the way, that if your passenger in the passenger seat on the left side wants to stretch out in comfort, they can move the seat, the passenger seat, out of the way, further out of the way, and get it out of their way and have even more room to stretch out. Interesting little feature. And another thing I like, but not everybody does, is, of course, a sunroof as standard in the SE model. Don't think I mentioned to you, 10 airbags on this car as well. So it's certainly got the safety spec. Well, if you consider that the non-hybrid in lower spec comes in at 720,000 Rand, this one in the top spec that adds quite a few features, as I've shown you, comes in at 948. It is a big difference, but then you're also saving something like 30% on fuel consumption. Depends if you care about that or not. I can't tell you if you do or don't, but I find that fascinating. And the sheer comfort and smoothness of the ES at the best of times, and even more so with the hybrid, which comes and goes and kicks in and kicks out almost at will. I don't understand it. But even when you're cruising on a highway, there are times when it comes in and gives you that extra bit of smoothness and extra bit of comfort, I'd say. It's there for you. You want my opinion? Hybrid is the way to go for the South African market. No, it's not cheap. I know it's not. But then again, if you look at the cheaper hybrids available in South Africa, they're not that much cheaper. But they're not at this class and this level of car either. So it's a very interesting one to be in. Obviously, this car competes in size with E-Class Merc 5 Series BMW. But it doesn't, if that makes any sense to you. It does to me. But if you're looking for a luxury executive sedan, if you love a smooth, comfortable, quiet ride and all the luxuries you can possibly want, all I'm going to tell you is put it on your shortlist and go and drive it for yourself before you make that decision. For Motor Matters, I'm Alan R. See you next time.